don't know what I would do. I got a good idea though, because I realize I am not as strong as the next person. And I tell people all the time, I'm not Jeremiah. I'm trying to get to be like Jeremiah. I want to be strong like Jeremiah. I want to be a good Christian. I want to be able to tell a deacon, a pastor, or tell a president when he's wrong. I want to tell my boss when he's wrong or when she is wrong. But then, like Jeremiah, I have the consequences to think of. Because after all, I'm human. You know, like the guy that came after the girl brains had been blown out. I want to live. I want to live. And I think we all are in that situation. And I just wanted you to put yourself in Jeremiah's situation. You see, we can read this and think that, don't think very much of it. But then when it personalized, when you get put in that situation, and it's easy, it's very easy for me to stand here and tell you what I will do and what I won't do. And it's easy for you to be out there telling everybody what you're going to do and what you won't do. Now, Jeremiah did what he should have done, but only after he got the assurance from the king. But he still knew that there are other consequences because there are other persons. And he told the king what thus said the Lord. He told the king what the king needed to know. Now, you know, a whole lot of us would like to be able to tell people what they need to do in certain situations. You know, from experience, people say wisdom, but from experience, you know, in a situation you have been in, not one time, but many times. And the older you get, the more you find yourself in that situation or a similar situation. And you knew what you did to get out of that situation. So when you get there again, it's automatic to you. Sometimes you don't have to think about it. You just do what needs to be done and move on. But then there's someone coming behind you who never been in that situation. They need you and they need your experience. So you need to share with them. So when they get there, they would know. You know, knowledge that you have is good for you. But don't you think that if it's good for you, it's good for others? That they should be able to benefit from your experience? That they don't need to have to go through it to understand it? Now, courage. Would you tell your girlfriend, your best friend, that her husband is involved with your sister? Would you? And don't even think about it. Don't even answer. But those are the type of situations you find yourself in as you live now. It may not be that close to you, but you see all these different situations, bad situations. They bad for the family and they bad for Christianity, because all the young kids around, they know and they see this. How could you tell them to come to church and learn? And how could you tell them, even if they don't come to church, how to be good and how to be faithful and how to do right when they looking and they see adults all around them doing what they shouldn't be doing? Jeremiah was a great messenger. But we're talking about something centuries ago. We need some Jeremiah or some Jeremises right now. We need them right now. We need them here. Not in the street. We need them here. We need them at home. We need them everywhere. Because if you look back and take 2 steps back, and you find out that our society is decaying, is falling apart, and that the family ain't nothing like it used to be when you were a kid. And Jeremiah had courage. And let me tell you, you got to develop courage. You got to speak up when something's wrong. You know, Jeremiah did not have to contend with silent being content. He didn't have to contend with silent meaning permission. But as you're around your friends now, Christians, first of all, should not take the attitude, I'm not going to get involved. Because if you are a Christian, you got to get involved. That's part of your obligation of being a Christian. Now, I know what you're thinking about. I know what you're thinking about. But you know, I was listening to your president last night. I'm sorry, your president-elect. And he said, oh, yeah, and I'm going to get rid of all these old gay folks and LTV thing. I'm going to get them out to school. I'm going to get them out to office. I'm going to get them out everywhere. And I said to myself, this is where I come in. You see, I can't let him bother those folks. I can't let him do what Hitler did to the Jews, do to these people. Because after he get rid of them, who next? I do not belong to the majority in this country. And I know the history of Hitler. And I know when he started talking about all the poor people in the slums, they don't have a job, they don't work, and we need to get rid of them. So those Jews who were professionals, doctors, lawyers, and all of that, they stood back and they let him get rid and do everything he wanted to do to those poor Jews. And then when there was no other poor Jews, what did he do? He still got rid of intellects, lawyers, judges. Then, you know what? I read as a student of history, do you know that Hitler had Germans who were not strong, who were not of that race that he pronounced as being so great and so strong? If they had problems, if they were born afflicted, if they had problems walking, if they were not perfect, you know, he had them killed. Did you know that? Hitler, when he got through with the Jews, started getting Germans that were not perfect. Did y'all know that? Yes, he did. And guess what? I got a feeling that when Trump get through with the LGBTs and the gays, and then get rid of the Mexicans, I got to be next in line. So we're talking about courage, and we're talking about stepping up now. I got to help them to help myself. I got to help them to help myself. You know, just like the war in Ukraine. If we don't stop Putin now, Poland is next. Putin has already said Poland is next. And if Poland is next, then he's really getting what? Getting rid of the Europeans, our strongest allies. So he get rid of them one by one, and then what happened? Just like Hitler did in World War II. Our ships couldn't go nowhere because all of a sudden Hitler's submarines start sinking. Then we gonna get in the war. If we had help in the beginning, we wouldn't have this problem. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because if we be like Jeremiah and we get out there and get involved from the very beginning, we can stop some of the things that happen on the back end. If we assert our responsibilities as Christians, we line up other Christians. We give them strength to come up and to come out and to say what is good and say what is right. And we got to do it. We can't wait till they get to our doorstep. If he's wrong, I don't care who he is. I don't care if he's a king. I don't care if he's a president. We got to call him out. And we got to help those that he's trying to hurt. Now, I know that you said I ain't got nothing to do with that. I know you probably think I got nothing to do with what they're doing in Washington. But let me tell you, those devils are everywhere. They're everywhere. In the workplace, they're all around. And let me tell you something else. Every other person that voted for Trump is almost over there. There are a few of them that didn't believe he would do this. But let me tell you something. Jeremiah believed that the king would kill him, didn't he? You better believe it too. You better believe it. You don't want to be put in that situation where you are the one. This lesson is so apropos to our situation today. You got to decide whether you're going to be a Jeremiah or whether you're going to be, I got to decide whether I'm going to be Jeremiah or whether I'm going to be my weak self. I got to decide whether I'm going to tell that guy with the gun that I will serve God and only God, or whether I'm going to be just like the guy that's living today and told him, not me. That's a decision you got to make. You see bad things happening around you, and you said nothing about it. Derek, all you know what 5 Point West is. There are a group of apartments, about 200 and some units, that's dilapidated. Yeah, no fire. You just wonder what happened to them, because they were some beautiful apartments. Well, let me tell you what happened to them. I had a client that had to move out because a drug dealer who was selling drugs next to her saw her looking at him, staring at him. And he came up to her and he told her, "If you tell anybody what I'm doing, I will kill your children." So she had to get her children out of there in a hurry. She didn't tell the police what it was all about, didn't tell anybody. But then he kept selling drugs. And it wasn't any kind of drugs. It was, before then, way before. Not marijuana. Not heroin. Crack cocaine. He sold crack cocaine to so many of the people in that complex until they all got hooked. And what happened when you get hooked on crack? They start stealing, they start destroying, and that is what happened there. But guess what? That happened all over Birmingham. All over Birmingham. You know, if you don't tell and nobody else tells, then all of a sudden your children smoking crack. And then it's in your family. And you get all upset and all angry. But guess what? Once you get addicted, it may be just too late. That's where we find ourselves. I want to bring it to you today because I want you to appreciate. I want you to respect God. I want you to fear God. I want you to respect God. And I want you to understand the consequences of your action. Is my time yet, baby? It's getting it. Oh, wonderful. Okay, now let me review the lesson. Jeremiah was a great soldier for God. He was not just a messenger, he was a soldier. I mean, he was the one that carried the message, and he's told it. Now, let me tell you, if you're going to be a Christian, you got to be the one that's going to what? Carry the message. You got to get involved. And you know what happened? Because, most of us grew up poor. I did. 10 in a family. What you think? In a black family back then, you can't live off the 3-finger discount. Now I see a few question marks on it. A 3-finger discount is where you go and shoplift, go and steal other people's things that are not yours. Okay, we may be poor, but in this church here, not this building, but on this ground, we talked and we were taught over and over again by our adults. We were told you should never steal. You shouldn't take anything from anybody. I remember, I'm 82 years old, but I can remember Miss Hunter and Miss Marshall telling us what not to do. I remember that. But there were obviously somewhere along the line, I did not translate to the next generation what Miss Marshall and Miss Hunter did for my generation. So a whole lot of people think it's okay, as long as you get away with it, to go and steal. A whole lot of people, well, I ain't gonna have nothing to do with it, but as soon as someone come along with a hot suit that you can get for $10 or a pair of shoes, you can get for $5. If you don't buy it, they'll stop stealing. You ever thought of it that way? But you can't be a Christian and come here with all your finery that you done bought and it's so hot it's smoking. You can't be that kind of Christian. You got to step up, you got to step out, and you got to be strong. You got to have courage to be a Christian. And if you don't do it, and all other Christians just like you don't do it, what type of situation do you think your children going to be in? It's going to be worse than what it is now. Somebody got to step up and do it. And I'm telling you, I got to step up too. The young people, they tell you, you got to step your game up. You ever been told that? My grandson, one of them, I ain't gonna tell you which one, loves to tell me, you got to step your game up. Young dad, you old school. You go around talking that talk. Don't nobody talk that talk. Not only that, and we laugh, but he's talking about, do you know how dangerous it is out in the street now? That's what my grandson tells me. And I'm telling you, I'm not a fool now. I can read and I can hear the news, and I know that more than 150 people have been killed in Birmingham. I ain't talking about Jefferson County. I ain't talking about Fairfield and Basham and the rural whites and start getting involved. I'm telling you, I know how dangerous it is. But still, I got to be Jeremiah. I can't expect for you to do something that I won't do. And it's all around us. Courage. You got to have the courage of your conviction. If you say you're a Christian, you profound to be a Christian, you got to stand up. Not sometime, all the time. I can't expect for you to do it if I don't do it. Now, just before I go, let me talk to you about courage in the family. While I'm pausing a minute, well, I can use myself. I remember once I was going on a legislative trip, and it was somewhere, I forgot where it was, but it wasn't Las Vegas, but it was somewhere. And my son told his teacher, and the teacher said, y'all shouldn't be traveling on government money, okay? And he came back and told me, and she said, but anyway, I went and I had a talk with his teacher. Because now you're talking to my kid about how you feel, and that's okay for you to talk to me. And I want her to understand. But I just didn't go directly to her. I went to the principal first. And I talked to the principal, and I told her she was out of order. If she had got a problem, she could have called me. I would have talked to her. And I was chair of the committee, and we had to go on a fact-finding mission. And I do know where we went. We went to Colombia, South America. We went to Brazil. We went to all the countries where they were selling drugs by the billions and millions of dollars worth. And we started there, and we came all the way, we followed the distribution route, all the way up through, we went to 17 countries in South America, Central America, and we ended up on the border in Texas. We wanted to follow how drugs got in the United States. And I was on the committee, and we had to make a decision. I said that to say this. You know, just because you got a position doesn't mean anything. But you got to use that position effectively. Whether it is a president, a preacher, a deacon, a Sunday school teacher, you got to use that position effectively. And it ought to be such a position, and you ought to handle it in that manner so that you can be a Jeremiah and you can go talk to everybody involved. And you can be of such a person that you can talk to them and tell them when they are wrong, and they will listen. You're not going to be right all the time. So guess what? My mama tell me, listen to me, boy. You got to listen to. I don't care if you're the president, you got to listen. I don't care if you're the minister, I don't care if you're a deacon, you got to listen. And when you listen, you use that information and you go and do what is right. Say what is right and act on what is right. You got to have the courage of your conviction. If you don't quite understand what I mean, just say it. Just remember that you got to be like Jeremiah. And I know sometimes you escape by saying, well, Jeremiah was a mayor. You got to be a Jeremiah. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you touched on, I'm glad you talked this to everybody. One of the things I'm glad you mentioned was the Columbine incident.
Yeah. Because it was real, and most people remember it.
And one of the things I really appreciate is the fact that you brought in the fact that the young lady said that she believed in God.
Yeah.
The next person said what they said. But
Yeah.
it goes back to what this is all about, Kirk.
Yeah.
For God I'll live, for God I'll die. And so it takes courage.
Yeah, it does.
And so thank you for making that point.
Well, I just wanted to make sure we understood what we were talking about, because sometimes, and we guilty, we all guilty. We always said, I wouldn't have done that. but we were not in that situation.
You don't know what you would have done until you put in that situation.
Absolutely.
But I'll say this to you.
Yeah.
Think about it like this, and I know no one knows what they'll do until they're in that situation, but do you want your last act to be living, to deny God?
Yeah.
Someone says, do you believe?
Yeah.
And when you think of it like that, I think you have a different, a different feeling of what you would say.
Yeah, but
Do you want your last act to be, no, I don't believe in God? A coward act.
yeah,
Denying God at the last, that could be the last thing that you do in life. And so I'm glad that you made that reference.
well, thank you very much. And just one other thing, since you said that, I want to make a connection. And you think about that situation where she said, I believe in God, and he killed her. You know, all the time we talk about what we would do and what we wouldn't do. She was brave because her last act was not that of a Judas. She stood up. She had courage. But let me tell you something. We know things and we won't even drop a dime on a person. We see drug deals going on. We know our kinfolk selling drugs and we won't even drop a dime on them. You know, and I'll tell you how bad it is. They have a reward system where you call a number, you don't have to, they give you a number. They don't even get the name. And that's your number. That's your code. That's your identification. And if what you say end up being true and they go and find a bad situation, they give you a reward. We won't even do that. So we wait until things get so unbearable or get so close to home before we do anything. And most of the time,
It's like you said, courage.
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 Right thing.
And let me tell you something. I'm gonna say it. Criminals know this.
We need that.
Criminals knows this. So they go and tell you, what's that code word they use? Don't snitch. Don't be a snitch. Don't be a snitch. And I'm gonna sit down. Let me tell you about snitch. 3 guys committed a robbery. One of them killed a person in the robbery. And the other guy, the other 2 guys said, we told him nobody was supposed to be killed. And he did it. And he really did because he shot the guy 4 or 5 times. Storekeeper didn't have to do it. And he said, if either one of you tell anything, all of us going. Because, you know, we got the felony murder rule in Alabama. If 3 of you say we're gonna go rob somebody and one of you kill somebody, all 3 of you killed that person. Okay. And they enforce it here. I just want to say this. Now, if I tell on myself, if I tell on you, I'm telling on myself. But one of those guys went and told him. Okay? One of the guys went and told him. And they used that guy as a witness. He got 5 years. One of them, and this was the old days when I was a child, one of them got the electric chair. So you know how old that's men. And the other one got life in prison. Now, who was the snitch? To me, the snitch was the guy that killed the guy. But I know y'all saying that the one that went and told him. And I can tell you, I've been in on cases where there have been 4 and 5 people involved in something. And all of them tried to get to the DA before the other one did because they wanted to be the witness. I'm telling you, they tell you don't be a snitch, and then they go and tell their story. And the DA go and take over. Be Jeremiah. Thank you.
Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Let the church say amen. I'll say it every time I stand here. When brother hears you speak, we just don't have enough folks to hear what he got to say. We just don't have the people that around to hear what he said. We can go back and try to explain it like him, but I promise you, the more who will hear, the more this world will be blessed. That's my way of thinking. We're going to turn to page 409. We're going to do a couple of verses on this song. And if we was able to do, based on this lesson today, page 409. Stand up for Jesus. If we would just learn to stand up, that's what our lesson was about today. Stand up for Jesus. Stand up. Page 409. We haven't done this in a long time, but we're going to make it through it because it's the message, it's not the sound. Always know, it's always the message, not how we sound. Stand up for Jesus, ye soldier of the cross. Live high, his royal banner must not be suffered long. From victory unto victory, his army shall he lead, till every foe is vanquished and crying, Lord, indeed. Stand up for Jesus. The trumpet call obey, for to the mighty conflict ended his glorious day. Ye that amidst not serve him against unnumbered foe, let courage with the danger and strength to strength uphold. Number 4. Stand up to Jesus. The strife will not be long. This day the noise of battle, the next the victor's song. To him that overcometh, a crown of life shall be. He with the King of glory shall reign eternity. When it all said and done, stand up for Jesus. Amen. Let the church say amen. Amen. We're going to give them few more minutes, and they'll give us destiny. How many minutes do you need? Destiny? About right? Okay. And Destiny come. Do we have any guests today? It's all of us. That's a blessing. Now, as I always say, I know it's holiday time, but take this under your belt. I know it's holiday time and a lot are going to be missing, but check on everybody. See if it's a holiday missing. Because see, let me tell y'all something. It's a whole lot going on in the world of today.
Right.
There are people that are sick.
Yes.
There are people that are hungry. There are people that are struggling. And guess what they do? They stay at home to hide it. And all they need is one call from one of us for them to say, well, I didn't want to tell you, but blank, blank, blank. And this is what our job as being Christian, to check on one another, to find out what one another going through, to find out what one another need. One call. Check on that person who have not been here in the last 2 or 3 weeks that will assume that it was holiday, representing the holiday. It ain't always representing. My brother was telling me about his best friend. One of his best friends had a hip replacement. And he would just happen to passing by her way, just stop, just to see how she was doing. And he went in there and she was doing fine and she ate something that didn't agree with her. And she got a little sick, but then before he left, she got better. He went home and went on with life. And in church, on that Monday after that, I guess Saturday, the young lady on the phone talking and mentioned her name. And he said, what's going on with her? They found her dead. He was the last one saw her that night. Her daughter found her that next morning, laying across the bed, passed away. My point is, check on one another.
All right.
It was just a hip replacement. But guess what? Whatever it was, that phone rang and God picked up. But the thing about it, we need to know what's going on with one another.
All right.
At all times. All right. All right.
Good morning, Empowerment Hour. It's good to see all of you. We hope that you all had a Merry Christmas, and we hope that you all have a prosperous New Year. Amen. Looks like we're all family this morning. I don't see any visitors. Does anyone have any announcements they would like to share at this time? Deacon McCray?
Continue to lift Sister Regina Woods Jones up in prayer. I understand she's been in the hospital the last couple of days. She definitely needs our prayers for her and her family.
Yes, sir.
Right, amen.
All right. So, Sister Jones, Sister Broom. Oh, wow. All right. So we need to keep Sister Jones, Sister Smith in our prayers. And I also learned that we need to also be in prayer for the Jennings family as well in the loss of Maurice Jennings. Is that correct? All right. So let's keep those families in prayer. Any other announcements? All right. I'll go on with the Secretary's report. I will first do the report from last Sunday. Surprisingly, the young men had the most present on last Sunday. They had 8 present, and the offering banner would have remained the same with the men Bible class. And for this week, the banners will stay the same as they are currently. The women had 8 present, and the men had $412. So the banners will remain the same today. Amen. All right. So our thought for today is, all right, we stopping right at the hour today. Okay. The will of God will never take you to where the grace of God would not protect you. If there is nothing else, since we did not sing the 4th verse of Lift Them Up on last week, we will sing the 4th verse of Lift Them Up. Will we all stand at this time, please? Amen.